All right. It is now my honor to introduce our keynote speaker. If I covered all of Governor Mitch Daniels' accomplishments to date, we would be here for a long while indeed. They're too numerous to cover in this forum, but briefly, here are some highlights. Mitch Daniels was elected as the 49th governor of the state of Indiana in 2004, his first bid for any elected office, and he didn't disappoint in his first term because he was reelected in 2008 for a second and final term, receiving more votes than any candidate for any public office in the state's history. Governor Daniels' many successes include the creation of the public-private Indiana Economic Development Corporation with the mission of attracting new jobs to Indiana. In 2008, Site Selection Magazine and CNBC both named Indiana as the most improved state for business in the country, and the state is now near the top of every national ranking of business attractiveness. Fiscal responsibility and streamlining operations are signature hallmarks for the governor. During his tenure, Governor Daniels initiated a host of reforms, creating greater efficiencies at many state agencies, including the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, Department of Child Services, and Department of Corrections, winning national awards. And I can personally attest to the success at the BMV. On a recent visit, I got in and out of the Fisher's license branch in 7 minutes. I just want you to know that's amazing. So a big compliment to the governor and BMV Commissioner Andy Miller. There are many more accomplishments that deserve highlighting, but I do want to elaborate on Governor Daniels' efforts with regard to his In Shape Indiana initiative, as it's a great example of leadership geared toward creating a healthier Indiana. In Shape Indiana is Governor Mitch Daniels' health and fitness initiative created in 2005 to encourage Hoosiers to eat better, move more, and avoid tobacco. The Indiana State Department of Health and the Governor's Office lead this statewide effort. Governor Daniels and First Lady Sherry Daniels are both actively involved in Shape Indiana and personally follow the healthy lifestyle message by incorporating regular activity into their daily schedules. And if the governor can add that into his busy schedule, the rest of us can too. So I'm taking note of that personally, looking in the mirror first. In Shape was established as a web-based program providing a clearinghouse of information in the areas of nutrition, physical activity, and tobacco cessation, prevention, and connecting individuals to resources in their local communities. In Shape coordinates with schools to offer students the Governor's Fitness Award, a free program encouraging kids to create a physical activity plan and track their progress for 9 weeks. And In Shape Indiana was recognized in 2007 by the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services with the National Innovation in Prevention Award. We are honored to have him with us here today, so please give Governor Mitch Daniels a very warm welcome.
Thanks to Greg, all the sponsors, and all of y'all for being here to talk about our favorite subject, and one of those of most importance to us all on a variety of levels: humanitarian, economic, and personal. Greg, I appreciate your mentioning our good friends at the BMV. They are only among the most visible of the state employees who are doing tremendous work these days, trying to make certain that if government should be doing something in this state, it's done well and done efficiently, but thanks for noticing. You were a little under the average. The average total time in an Indiana BMV last month was a little over 9 minutes, so count yourself 2 minutes ahead. You may have gotten the VIP treatment, I don't know. I used to tell people that before we started turning the place around, Hoosiers I know would go to the license branch with a box lunch and a copy of War and Peace and hope not to finish both of them before they got called on. You may remember the experience. So. I really just bring a few words of welcome and thanks, appreciation for those who conceived and put this event together, particularly for those, I'm told, close to 90 companies or entities who were thoughtful enough and farsighted enough to be represented and to indicate, I suspect, by your presence that you're either already doing or intend to do something significant about the people who work with you every day. I know there is absolutely no need to belabor the importance of this, all the ways in which it can contribute to your businesses being stronger or to this state being stronger and more prosperous. If you didn't know that already, you wouldn't be sitting here. But it is, I suppose, worth reflecting just for a moment on the categories of improvement in which we hope to be leading, nudging, or otherwise encouraging our fellow citizens to move. Ours has not been a very healthy state historically, and by any measure, we are still, at best, middle of the pack. The direction, at least in terms of rankings, has gotten some better. You know, for instance, we've come a long way down the obesity list from usually a low single digit into the middle of the pack somewhere, but it isn't because we got a lot skinnier. America got fatter while we stood still. So there's not a lot to be proud of there. We're still smoking at far too high a rate despite a lot of excellent efforts. And you know the consequences, you know the human loss, you know which is the most important, you know the economic damage that it does, the higher health costs, the lost productivity, which I don't think anybody will ever fully, adequately measure, more than we probably suspect. I said to our folks at InShape, I remember never forget, it was one of the first of all the projects we've launched, and in our first year over at the gym that I frequent over here at the National Institute of Fitness and Sports, we had a big crowd. There were celebrities, there were kids, everybody's all revved up about this, and I frequently recalled saying on that day, of all the things that we try to do to bring change to this state, and there are going to be a lot of them, this one, this whole idea of wellness and becoming a more fit and healthy state will be the most popular or the least controversial and the hardest. Because getting people to change the habits of a lifetime is difficult for anyone to bring off, and government in particular. It's never shown me that it's very good at such an endeavor. So we knew we'd need everybody's help. And it got off to a pretty fast start, and tens of thousands of people signed up and began reporting in what they were doing. We've got some fantastic success stories. I'll tell you one of the joys of this job. I'll be, shortly after I leave here, I'll be headed off on one of my road trips. And I'll be way down south in places like Boonville and Sellersburg and Corydon and so forth, Evansville. I guarantee you, because it happens all the time, somewhere along that trip, somebody's going to come up to me and say, and want to tell me their success story. I stopped smoking. I lost 50 pounds. I got a 100-pound club, by the way, of people who have lost 3 digits of weight. And so the efforts of so many people are beginning to pay off. We can measure it, and I can report to you anecdotally that it's true. But very quickly it became apparent to me that the only way we were going to move a needle in a state this size, 6.3 million people, was not retail, it had to be wholesale. We could never reach enough people one by one by one. We had to have businesses and universities and whole towns and other organizations embrace this idea and help us sell it wholesale to large numbers of their workers, students, parishioners, whatever it happened to be. And that has really begun to happen, and that's why I think we are seeing the needle start to move. But this meeting is incredibly encouraging when you've been slugging away at this as we have. And so many, many thanks to all of you for being here, and to whoever gave you the day to come or sent you here. let me just say that the state's an employer too, and we now have some grounds, some evidence for saying that this can all work in a fairly short time frame. If yours is a business, I know many of you have been working at this a long time. My old friends from Lilly are here, and nothing new about this over at Eli Lilly and Company. I'm sure that's true of many of the rest of you. But there may be some of you whose business is just getting started. Take heart. You can see very significant change in a reasonably compact period of time. I know we have somewhere among us people who are really expert at ways to incentivize and encourage people and align their personal interest with the interest of the company, with the interest of the state in being healthier. Let me tell you, it works. We've got the programs, we've got 3 and 4 years now of experience at the state level with programs that give people an incentive to, if they have a chronic illness, to get, or the risk of one, to get one-to-one counseling and a health program. They do it, and then they do what they're asked to do, and then it works. And we have very direct experience with and positive experience with financial incentives to tobacco cessation. So I'm sure there are ideas already in place in your businesses. Maybe some come out of this meeting for additional ways to do this, but please be inventive about that and share it with the rest of us so we can copy what you've done that succeeds. One last thing. We now at the state level, we discover we are alone in America in this respect. We are utterly unique as a public sector entity in having 7 out of 10 state employees in a personally directed, I call it consumerist health plan, in which they make the first dollar decisions about their health care, personal account, health savings account style. And then, of course, are totally protected against a calamitous or very expensive event. Well, there are some people out there who are dismissive of the idea that an average person can or will make the smart decisions for themselves. They think they need the benevolent supervision of someone wiser to get them or force them, require them somehow to do those things that are in their interest. It's not true. We know it now. People, given the right information, given the right encouragement, given the right incentives, will much more often than not do those things that will lead to a longer, better quality life for them, lower costs for whoever's helping them pay for their insurance and the bills, and then ultimately to the sort of more successful, more prosperous state that a healthier state will inevitably be. So I'm going to be in front of lots of crowds. The rest of my service here, there won't be a morning more important, as far as I'm concerned, to the long-term success of Indiana than this one. And I just can't say enough thanks to the IBJ and their fellow sponsors, but especially to each of you individually for giving up a day to come help us solve this toughest but also most potentially beneficial of problems. Thank you very, very much.